was just thinking, Tony, we get born as children and then we become sons and then we grow up and eventually we become fathers. So when you came into this whole ministry, which was founded on the Father Heart of God and fathering sons and daughters in the kingdom, you weren't just a father overnight. How did younger people come around and actually draw fathering and mothering out of you? How did that process happen?
Yeah.
That actually became to define your ministry.
Yeah. Sometimes I marvel at that and wonder how did it ever happen. But I think on the other side, I've always, ever since I laid in the hospital ward with cancer, and maybe before that as well in sports, but when I laid in the hospital ward with cancer and saw everyone die except me, from then on I've always had a love for people. I've never wanted to control people, manipulate people. I just want to see them live. And when you see everyone else die except you, and you come out, you realise, God, there's got to be some purpose. I'm not saying that God killed everyone else and I live, but you know what I mean? There's something God's going to use in this. Yeah. So I love people, and it was those early days I began to get that heart. I don't want to see anybody go to their grave with their music still in them. Yes. And that's been the motivating factor of my life. Yeah. So in the areas that are more weaknesses with me, structure, organisation and those kinds of things, my strengths have been that which has helped me, people get drawn to for fatherhood, I think, because I think, like I said on Sunday in the message, I've seen more people heal through a hug than a 20-minute sermon, you know. And I think it's a little bit because I really do love people. People can frustrate me like anybody else, and I frustrate many, but I love people. And I believe that God put everybody here for something real in their heart. And so I began to think, because of what I learnt on that, give God your rights, I didn't want to see people just coming to Jesus to get forgiveness of sins, but never understand sonship and fatherhood. And His grace, to realise God's not just looking down waiting for them to make a mistake or something. He loves them, He's lifting them up. You know, He's the glory and the lifter of the head and all that kind of thing. So I think that's what happened. Some people got joined to that heart. Some people came through that heart, you know. But some people got joined, and then God was very kind to us in what became Church of the Nations, because then we got, you know, Dave and I got added, and you got added in very quickly, in the very early days, really, when we look at it. We had a few churches in those days, a few nations. But what God's added by then joining apostolic and other gift ministries together, often saying, I always love this to be recorded. Sometimes people ask me and say, is Church of the Nations today what you saw when you saw the original vision? And I always say, I hope not. Because it's limited to what I originally saw, and it's not the wealth of everything God's added together to make it become what it is, and I'm just one part of that. Then we'd be a poor organisation controlled by one man and be flat by now. Where now we can still see generation of life, generating life, etc., because of the variety that God's put in our midst, that together we honour one another and grow in that. So I feel I'm the product of a fatherhood of God, and then who God's put in my life to join with me to help strengthen my weakness and vice versa, etc. But I think it's just that, mainly just a love for people. And this is probably a key after those first couple of years in denominational ministry. Those years where I just worked the streets, picking up drug addicts, prostitutes, those kinds of things. Marilyn would be home with the babies. I'd get home 4 o'clock in the morning after counselling young gay kids or prostitutes or whatever through the night, and she'd wake up, cook me something or get me something to eat. We'd both go back to sleep. I'd start praying in tongues, wake up 6 hours later, realising I'd been interceding for those kids all night. And I think something gets forged in you that's bigger than meetings. It's bigger than, when I say church, I don't mean the church, but structures, you know what I mean? Those systems.
There's a world out there that needs to be touched.
And that's when I understood the breadth of the kingdom.
Can I just say something really on that? I think something that God just reminded me of, you know, the fact that we've often shared this, that one day as a couple, we just said to God, okay, God, we're here and we'll go anywhere at any time and do anything that you call us to do. And I think we've never forgotten it. You know, there are lots of things in your life that pass and you don't remember, but some things, and you know, and God often reminds us of that. Sometimes now as we're getting older and it's more comfortable just to sit
Absolutely.
and maybe not be so involved. You know, God reminds
That's
you,
very powerful.
anytime, anywhere.
That's very powerful. You know, I was sitting the other day in Holland interviewing a lady that happened to work with Floyd McClung, that you guys would know very well.
Know very
a close
well.
friend of yours. And she's working also amongst the prostitutes, and she's an older lady, and she's been doing it for 20 years. And I said to her, how did you get to do this? How I asked her, how did you come into this, and why are you still doing it? And she said, you know, I did a basic leadership course. Then I got to a place where I didn't have anything to do. I went back home to go and live with my mum and dad. And I said this to God, God, anywhere, anytime, anything, when you call me. And one day I got a phone call to say, we want somebody to work with prostitutes. And he said, well, if that's what you're saying, God, that's what I'll do. I said, so you mean you didn't have to go through a list of, you know, what's your gift?
Yes.
Do you feel led by the Spirit? Do you think that's what God said?
Spiritual assessment test.
You mean a leader could call you and say, God said we need to start something, and because you said that, you would respond. She says, yes, because He's my God. And He loves people. And if He want to move me on, He will. But that's why I started, and I'm still doing it. It's such a beautiful heart, isn't it?
Yeah, we understood. Sorry, I was just going to say, we understood from early days that although we understand and appreciate respect when someone calls you something or what, but we was never a title. It was only ever us that had a function. And you know, I understand through respect, and it's it can be identified, but was always much more Paul the Apostle than Apostle Paul. You know, we're all much more like
Job description. Than a
more a
title.
description of who we were eventually, because we never knew that in those days anyhow.
Exactly.
And so I think it's a hard thing.
Tony, tell me a little bit.